Hello and welcome to this week's episode of The Capitalist Investor. As always, you have me, Diamond Hands D, and we got the whole crew here today. Cool Hand Luke and Tony the Tiger. What's going on, guys?
What's going on?
Hot Hand Luke now. It's like 80 degrees outside. I love it. Talking about being hot and ready, we were just talking earlier about our new YouTube. If you are a listener and you haven't checked out our YouTube, you can find our podcast on there as well. But we have been getting a lot of good feedback, but also we've gotten a lot of clowns out there calling us clowns and a lot of haters on YouTube. So we need some people that are actual passionate about what we do and what we're preaching here to go back in there and fight the good fight and make some comments maybe back to them. So check out YouTube if you haven't checked it out already, and go in the comments section and fight back.
All right. So this week we'll start off with the financial planning corner. So talking about creating a kind of what if scenarios inside of your financial plan. So we've been talking a lot about planning in the recent weeks, and I think one of the most powerful things that a financial plan can give you is essentially the answers to any of the questions that you have. And that's really what a what-if statement is. So, can we afford whatever, decision we want to make in retirement?
Well, I'll even peel back that onion a little bit more. It's like it's about who is building the plan and actually like the software, the type of software they're using. Because we have access to any financial planning software we can get our hands on, right? Anything we want, free stuff. I mean, what Fidelity has their, you can plug in some numbers and get a financial plan in 30 seconds. You think that is sufficient? I don't think so, because I know it takes our planners, 4 to 6 hours to build a plan because our software is that intricate, right down to what we're spending on. Dialing in real estate tax, dialing in medical expenses, and inflating them on an annualized basis, like separately. Like if we use standard inflation for gas and cell phones and groceries, but what do we do for healthcare? We jack that up to like 5% because we know that historically in the past, it accelerates faster than everything else around us. So one thing you need to understand is you can't just ask a what-if question to non-superior software. You can't do that.
You also can't just use history as a guide for the future. And this is why I've actually been having these conversations a lot more recently. I think it's important if you are working with somebody, you should work with somebody that has similar ideas about where the future is going. And the reason I say that, for example, taxes. Like if you agree that the government's printed trillions of dollars and that the only repercussion of all the damage has been done, that taxes are going up in the future, your financial plan should then take a look at taxes rising in the future and how that's going to impact your situation. If you just use the current tax environment, or you try to use the past as a guide for the future, most likely your tax estimates are not going to be correct and your output's not going to be correct from a financial planning standpoint. So you, from a philosophy standpoint, even when it comes to politics, things like that, I do think it sometimes makes sense to make sure that they align with you so that way you can be on the same page for the future to make sure that you can really factor in and turn the knobs that need turned to predict what's going to happen if what you're correct.
So what that really looks like is that we adjust the tax rates inside the planning software, because think of it this way. If Donald Trump wins the election, Derek, calm down. If Donald Trump wins the election, taxes are probably going to be very similar to what they are now. I'm sure he'll make some revisions to his sunsetting tax laws at the end of 25. But if he doesn't win, there will be a new regime, and Biden will definitely not, carry forward Trump's tax laws. And if you look at like the past Democratic tax law, it came from Obama. So if nothing happens, if Joe falls asleep in the basement and doesn't change anything, and we're going to revert back to the Obama tax laws, if that happens, to get to the point, our taxes are going up about 15 to 20%. So if you were used to paying $10,000 in tax last year based on your income X, Y, you're paying $12,000 the next year. So 10,000 is now 12,000. Things are going up, and you're paying the government even more money. Good luck, because all the federal tax brackets are going to expand, and they're also going to go up incrementally. The 12% bracket will become 15 again. The 22 will become 25. And you take a look at those incremental changes, and that's what we can do inside the planning software. If you are worried about that, it's something that we can dial in.
Right.
And you can now then be prepared when the tax laws do sunset.
If you're worried that we've gone too far, we're not going to pull back government spending no matter who's in office, and you can agree on that, and you want to see what higher inflation environment looks like for a 30-year period rather than 2%, maybe 3.5%, 4%, that's something you can be more intricate and take a look at and factor in your plan as well, right? That's what we call the what-if scenarios. So what if inflation does remain higher? So all this stuff is really important, I think, to keep in mind when you're working with somebody and making sure you're not just plugging numbers in and having one output and hoping for the best.
Yeah,
you're actually thinking about the future and like, what path are we on and what knobs do we need to turn to factor that in?
Yeah, you think Social Security is going to get cut, which it could if nothing happens
I'm
again.
not planning on Social Security.
Well, the way we pay payroll tax, 75% will be there for recipients after the trust fund runs out in 10 years. But we can design that. 75% of your current Social Security, that's what you're going to get in 10 years. We can design that.
That's what you're going to
If
get.
that's what you're concerned about. Investments. The last 10 years, what's the annualized rate of return? Like 10% per year. We don't put that in financial plans. We put 5.5 or 6 because we're trying to be forward looking. And you kind of hit the nail on the head, Luke. It's like work with somebody who is forward looking so that when things do, hit the fan, you're not panicking.
I love to plan around these different scenarios, but I can't wait 20 years from now looking back at some of the things I've said and just like comparing how they actually turned out. But this is why you have to prepare, though, for like all these different scenarios.
I mean, we could just take a look at our stock picks. Like, hey, what do you think the market's going to do this year? And it just the opposite happens. Anyway,
this industry is a fun one.
Yeah,
definitely keeps you up at night, though.
But at the end of the day, like it comes down to building a plan. It just helps create that like retirement CFO.
That's right.
Model.
We can take the stress off of you and put it onto us.
That's basically, yeah. So, all right. Again, it's all about building a plan so that you can look into your future. That's the biggest thing, and we call it what ifs. What if this? What if that? What if you want a new? What if you want a new home? What if you want a bigger home? What if you want a smaller home? What if you want a second home? What if you want to retire 10 years early? Can you make it? If you do want to retire 10 years earlier, what does that mean? You have to spend less. Okay, how much is that?
I'm just gonna go get a camper, so it's less to take care of.
Yeah, just
easier life that way.
Get a mobile home and just live off of that.
Trailer, I'm fine with that. There's nothing wrong with that.
Yeah, I've seen people on the internet turn their car into like a mini house.
Yeah.
You like pull one of the seats out, put a bed in there, and they live in the car.
Dirty Mike and the boys.
Exactly.
My goal one day is just to take my car and drift off into the sunset. Literally, just travel around in my car.
I slept in my car once. It was not fun. It was not. It was just, and it was not good.
Your back hurt. Is that how you have back problems now?
Yeah,
Don't you have
yeah,
back problems?
yeah. It just was not good. Anyway.
All right, guys. Well, if one last thing I will say, if you do have a current financial plan, it is worth, digging into exactly, what type of plan that you do have. One last thing I'll say is that, if you're using like a flat rate of return for your whole retirement plan with no volatility in there, probably 7 out of 10 retirement plans out there have that as one of their features, and that's just going to drastically overstate your chances of success. So, make sure you understand the type of plan that you do have, and if you're not getting the answers that you need, kind of seek those out and make sure you have a cash flow based plan with the ability to produce those what if scenarios.
Yep.
So, with that, we'll wrap it up. So thanks for listening this week. If you have any questions, comments, show ideas, hit us up at info@swpconnect.com. And we'll talk to you next week.
The opinions expressed in the podcast are for general informational purposes only and are not intended to provide specific advice or recommendations for any investment, legal, financial, or tax strategy. It is only intended to provide education about the financial industry. Please consult a qualified professional about your individual needs.